seconds. You got 13. You got 13 viewers.
All right. So I think you can hear me now. So hold on a second. I'm going to come off of. Come on in, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I'm just here getting rid of this because I don't need that anymore. If you're here, come on in. I'm excited because we have an amazing session. I'm excited about this hormone balancing challenge, and I hope you are too. We have a lot to get into today. Let me close. If you guys can hear me, can you drop a comment? Can hear me? Can you drop a comment? Okay, and once you're in, please mute. Hold on.
I think that's me.
So we're gonna get started in a second, but I am having a All right, so now we can, I think we're looking good. Okay, happy Tuesday, everyone. Okay, so yes, you guys said you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, yay. Wonderful. All right, so hopefully, yes, everyone's coming in. It's now 7:04, so I'm going to give it another minute before we get started. So come on in. I hope you all are having a phenomenal day today. And so while we're here, so the first thing is that you want to go to streamyard.com/Facebook so that you can give your name. We can see your name when you post your comments. So once we do the giveaways and all the fun stuff, if you are commenting and you are up for a win, we need to know who you are, right? So if you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook, you'll give permission for us to see your name. Okay, so I see Flossie already did it. Shirley's here, and I can see your name just fine. Everyone else, it just says Facebook user. So go ahead and take like 30 seconds to go to that link. You can also see it at the top of your viewing screen here. So go ahead and do that. Okay, Tarsha, I see it. Okay, good. Leanda, you're welcome. All right, so yeah, so whoever just said you can hear me, go ahead and go to streamyard.com/Facebook and just press OK so we can see you, okay? So I'm going to give you like 30 more seconds so you can do that. We have a lot of fun stuff to cover today. So go ahead. Hi, everybody. So 30 more seconds and we're going to get started. Nisha, great. Hi, Nisha. Yes, hello, Shonda. I can see you. Welcome. Hello. Angela, yes, I could see yours. Nicole, I could see you too. Very good. Lucy, I can see you. Alicia, there you go. All right, 15 more seconds. For real. Alicia, yes. And so if you're new coming on, Fidelia, hello. Hi. So yeah, so if you're new on, Aretha, yes, very good. I feel like we're covering just about everyone. If you're new on, please go to streamyard.com/Facebook. And so we'll need to do this for all of our sessions, okay? Just to make sure that we can see your names so that you can win and I can get to know you better, okay? Naomi, Monica, Joy, Pam, Shanti, beautiful. Very good. So the long-awaited hormone balancing challenge is here, and I'm so excited because Balancing our hormones is extremely, extremely important. And what most people don't realize, especially females, yes, Aretha, I can see you. What we don't realize is that our hormones are the key to helping us to achieve every single thing that we try to achieve. That means if you're trying to get your energy up, your hormones are linked. If you're trying to lose weight, your hormones are linked. If you're trying to get rid of acne, if you're trying to sleep better at night, if you're trying to improve your sex life, all of these things are all linked with your hormones. And so there are so many times that we may attempt to make change, and we're doing so much, we're working so hard, and we feel like we're doing everything we should, but we're not seeing results. And you get frustrated. I know I do. But what we don't realize is that our hormones on the back end are likely keeping us back, preventing us from actually achieving our goals. And so that's what we're going to talk about over the next 4 days. And so we're here to chat, to talk, to learn, to strengthen each other, and to help to make our lives a little bit better than when we started. All right, so let's dive on in. All right, so while you're waiting, let's grab a pen and paper. If you're all into technology and you're taking notes on your phone, wonderful. Okay, so we're going to cover a lot of stuff today. And so jot down some notes. I will for sure talk to everyone. We can chat at the end. We can answer your questions. And so you can enter your questions as we're going through the live today, and I'll get to them at the end. Okay. If I see something that's super relevant at the time of, like, as we're going through the presentation, I'll be sure to actually answer that question then. But if not, I'll answer your questions towards the end. Okay. Now, if you are in a state right now where you're just like really caught up in 1,000 other things, because as females, we wear so many different hats, I want you to take this moment to kind of relax. Okay. And clear your mind the best way you can. And so to help with that, I want us to take a nice deep breath together. Okay. So I'm going to count down to 3. And wherever you are today, I want you to just close your eyes for a second. And I want you to take a nice deep breath in, slowly count to 4. And then I want you to relax and exhale. And we're going to do that twice. Okay. So we're going to do that now. So close your eyes, take a nice deep breath. 2, 3, 4. Relax and exhale. 2, 3, 4. Okay. And we're going to do that again. Nice deep breath in. 2, 3, 4. And relax. 2, 3, 4. Okay. And shake it off a little bit. All right. So let's dive in. This hormone balancing bootcamp is going to be a reflection of my 4 steps to reclaiming the real you. And so these are 4 strategies that I've used for many, many years and have been proven to help others all around the world be able to clear, organize your hormones and feel better and get be able to achieve the things that you've been having difficulty achieving. And so we're going to go through those 4 steps and help you make a difference in your life. Balancing your hormones gives you the chance to release your body, to gain energy, and to lose weight. Some people, even though we're going to focus a little bit more on the weight loss side while we're here, sometimes you're trying to gain weight and you have a difficult time as well. And if that happens to be you while you're here, please go ahead and drop a message in the comment so I know, so that we can kind of tailor some of this information that we're presenting to you as well. Okay. Now, my promise to you is that we will be covering all of these things, and that you're going to gain the knowledge that you need to be able to make your life a little bit better by the end of the challenge on Friday. Now, while you're here, again, I want you to be present. I want you to learn, and I want you to show up as well, because if you're not showing up to gain this information, then it's going to be a little bit of a difficult pathway for you to actually get started and be able to make a change. And so we're here. Be serious, be committed. And if so, you'll be able to make that change. And so, one of the giveaways, or the main giveaway that we're going to have today, I'll talk about this a little bit further as we go along. But this is, you're going to have the chance to win a hormone assessment with me, one to one. And so many of you here may be completely new to who I am, and I'm going to go into that a little bit, and probably very new to some of the programs and the different things that I do with the community and do with people to be able to help to transform their lives. But a main part of that is a hormone assessment. With a hormone assessment, essentially will tell you essentially what your hormone, your dominant hormone may be. Some people, a lot of us, may be estrogen dominant. Some of us may be progesterone dominant. Some of us may even be testosterone dominant. And so, with that, we're going to talk about this and cover it over the next few days. But know that as we go through today, this is what you'll be able to win: a wonderful session valued at over $450. That's the time to spend with me, the time for your assessment. And so this is a great, great opportunity for you today. So hang on, and we'll kind of help you. We'll give you information about how you can actually enter to get this prize today. So let's talk about who I am. As you probably already know, I'm a Jamaican, okay? I was born and raised. And so that is me on the left. You know, I'm not necessarily super happy about these photos, but this is me growing up in Jamaica. And so it's, you know, I say all the time that I back in the days in Jamaica, we didn't have a lot of pictures and things like that. So this is one of the few things, the pictures that I have growing up back home. But I grew up until I was a teenager before I migrated to the United States. So you'll hear it in my accent, you'll hear it when I speak. But coming from Jamaica is actually the core of who I am as a person today. It is a core of who I am as a physician. It is a core of who I am and how I practice. And so everything starts from that picture and that image when I was back in Jamaica. And that's transformed over time in a lot of different ways. And so, in one way, you know, growing up in Jamaica, if anyone else is Caribbean here, I grew up and I was very, very skinny while I was there. I was like super thin. And if you are from like a Caribbean heritage, you know that having meat, fat, curves, is like a really good thing. And so for me, as a teenager, I was so thin that you can literally see like my kneecap moving as I'm walking, and like every single muscle in my body. And I hated it because curves and fat was like a good thing. It was like a look of luxury and riches. And so for me, it was really, really hard and very challenging. And then when I migrated to the United States, a completely different story. I was just like, okay, what is this? Because now in America, thin was seen as a good thing. And so for me, it was like a little bit of a dilemma. Like, I hated how I looked before, and now I'm in America and it's seen as a good thing. And then the challenge came about because now being in America, I started putting on weight so fast, so fast. I mean, within months and years, I probably doubled my weight in a very short period of time. It was just like, okay, what's happening? Because now I wanted to have curves because that's just how it looked as a good thing in Jamaica. But being here, I realized that being super curvy was a bad thing, but I couldn't understand where all the fat and growth and was coming from. And so it kind of had me like spinning around, because now I'm in another dilemma where people are calling me fat and I'm feeling bad about it. People are just like, okay, like your butt's growing, your thighs are really thick. They're saying all types of stuff, and it's kind of now causing me to feel like I'm just not happy with who I am, and things were just like in a lot of chaos. And so that's where my story began, with feeling and knowing about changes in our body and confidence and hormones. And so with that, I was always determined once I came to the United States to actually make a difference, because the way that I grew up in Jamaica was very, very poor and we didn't have much. And so with all of that, I was just like, you know what, if I ever have a chance, I'm going to try to make the best of it and make sure that how my life started is not how my life will end. And so that was my journey to going to medical school. And so with that, my determination and a lot of struggles, decided to continue on that path. And then I decided to join the military as well. So that's like a little bit of a left field. But I mentioned that here because being a soldier, which I currently still am in the military, I'm a major now in the Army. But when I joined, most people would join for a lot of different reasons, including incentives. They want to get benefits and all this other stuff. My reason for joining the military was really to help me stay in shape and to not be very unattentive to the things that I do with my body physically. So in my mind, on the back end, I was actually doing this to help me and to help my health. And so during the whole journey, I was just like, listen, medications are expensive. Diseases are terrible. I don't want to ever have to spend my money on having to deal with a lot of medications. I really want to try to make the best out of my health and using the energies and the world around us, the earth around us, to be able to enhance health. And so while I was in medical school, or right before, I really gained an excessive amount of weight where I literally got into a size of like 16, 18. When I came to America, I was like a -2. Like I was like a 0. I was so thin. And so in a short period of time, I gained a ton of weight. And it was just like, okay, I need to try to reverse all of this and understand it. And so this is how my commitments have been over time. And so here you can see, this is me graduating from medical school. And so, in my entire journey, I studied in undergrad kinesiology, exercise and sports science. And so that's where I really started looking into the physical nature of us as beings, as people, and say, well, physically, how are we biologically made and put together, and how can we enhance that? How can we use our strengths and use the different beautiful things about us to be able to achieve health and wellness? And so my dedication started there. And during those years, I was a personal trainer and a Zumba instructor, and I love those. If you've seen me dancing all over social media, this is where it comes from. It's the heart of who I am, is how I have fun in life. And so I loved being an instructor, and I taught for many, many years until the most recently. And so my love and passion started there with the human body on the outside. And so then I got my first master's in biomedical sciences, and this took me in a different direction where I really started studying research and understanding medications and drugs and all of the behind the scenes things that happen to help us have an aspirin and a Tylenol and a Motrin and all the other medications that are out there, and started creating drugs of my own. And so I wasn't initially really excited about this degree, believe it or not, but I loved it because it really gave me a good perspective on creating the medicines that we have now. And so then I really started looking into nutrition and natural medicine. And my goal at that point was, again, to be able to use the earth to help us heal and to help us be great. And so then I got a master's in executive MBA, an executive MBA in healthcare administration. And so I really wanted to, my goal was to change the face of medicine and the way that we practice, to be able to incorporate all of these things that I'm learning to make people healthier. And so then I got my doctorate as a physician in osteopathic medicine. If you are not familiar with osteopathic physicians, they're physicians trained in two different categories. And so one, you have a traditional doctor, and this is often where you'll hear of like a Western medicine doc. So someone who is, just about treatment, so you come in, they see you, and that's it. Osteopathic physicians train above that with an additional 300 to 500 hours of time studying the body, holistic medicine, natural medicine, and once I learned that two types of physicians existed, I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. I know exactly where I want to be. This is what medicine should be. So if you've seen um, osteopathic physicians, you'll notice that the way that we treat our patients is completely different. Our approach is completely different. We study the muscular system, the skeletal system, the spirit, the mind, your entire being. And so that's the heart of who I am and why I do the things that I do right now. And so when I left medical school, I was all about wellness. And, my goal was to help others be healthy and live in their best way, their best being ever. And so as I started practicing, I realized that that's not the reality. Like what I saw in my mind as a beautiful thing, as what all physicians should be, just about helping people and helping to prevent things from happening, I realized that is not the case. And I was really taken aback because most types of medicine, especially in the United States, focus on treating the illness after it's occurred, the injury after it's occurred, rather than preventing it from happening. And so, if we were to focus as people on prevention, we wouldn't have to spend so much and invest so much in the cure. And so, I got really dismayed and I was just like, well, I don't want to. There's definitely times that you need to have traditional medicine. But if we really work with the earth and the things around us, we can prevent these illnesses and these chronic diseases from happening that you won't even need them. And so I was just like, okay, this is not good, but we're going to make a change here. And so then I remember that when I graduated from medical school, we took an oath. And so if you've ever heard of oaths that physicians take, this is a portion of the oath that I took as a physician. And as I'm practicing and I'm seeing so much more treatment than prevention, and we're given medicine for a simple ailment that we can take something naturally, a herb, we can do different things to change our habits to correct the problem. I was just like, well, my oath says I'm affirming my loyalty to this profession that I'm entering into, and that it is my greatest responsibility to preserve the health and the life of my patients. And if I'm going to preserve the health and life of my patients, then I really need to, if you look at the bottom line here, it says I need to use my skill and ability, keeping in mind always nature's laws. Nature, the earth, the world around us, the laws of the land, and the body's inherent capacity for recovery. And, I paused and I said that, yes, in nature, there's a lot to help us to heal. And inherently, our bodies have what it takes to be healthy, to be well, to recover. And I'm going to focus on enhancing that so that we can help our people, we can help our our sisters and our mothers and our aunts and our friends to live their best lives. And so that brought me to where I am and completely dedicating to creating change and changing my approach, and not being on the side of just traditional medicine, but using holistic medicine together so that we can achieve health. And so with that, I call it an evolution, really. But what happened is that I realized that my calling is really to help people, to educate, and to do so outside of just treating them. And so this is where the heart of hormone balancing came from. And so as I trained, I realized that I love females, I love us, I love our bodies, and we're great human beings, we're great people. And we have so much within us that just needs to be blossomed a little bit. And in my dismay of realizing that a lot of people don't understand their medical conditions and they don't understand the root cause, they don't understand how to make change. They really understand how to take medication, and how the physicians write the prescription and they just take it, but they don't really understand the core of what's happening on with their diseases and their problems to even be able to make that change that they can inherently do. And so My goal is to help you all today, over the next 4 days, over the next months and weeks, to be able to know and understand your body and the important things that you can do to be a better person and to feel better and achieve all the things that physically, mentally, and spiritually that you'd like to do. Now, for you to live your truth, it's important to know that hormone imbalances are probably in all of us right now. Every single person in this room right now, you may have some degree of hormone imbalance. There is not one person living that does not have at any point some degree of an imbalance. Now, some people have a lot more imbalance than others, right? And sometimes we know this because we see the diseases and the problems that are we're encountering, that are happening in our lives, that are happening in our bodies, right? And so we see them, we feel them. When you wake up in the morning and you don't have much energy and you feel like you just need to go back to sleep, it takes 4 or 5 hours before that brain fog kind of lifts, before you can think clearly, and then you eat food and then now you get sleepy again and you're just like, well, I slept well last night, but I don't feel like it, right? When you're trying to get pregnant, but you're suffering from things like hormonal imbalances that's preventing you from ovulating regularly, from having regular periods, from being able to lose weight, not have insulin resistance, for you to have hormone imbalances with your thyroid or your prolactin. There's so many different things that are linked with this. And what we don't realize is that our habits, the things that we're doing every day, can really correct those things. They can correct it. And so that you can actually wake up and feel renewed and feel alive and feel energetic and live your life exactly the way that you want to. And so while we go through this process of being hormonally imbalanced and trying to create that balance, know that we have more than 50 different types of hormones in our bodies. And so as we're living, all of these is like intertwined together. They're intermingled. And at any point when these imbalances occur, it can shut down the system so none of your hormones are actually functioning the way that they should. And so it's important that we focus on these and understand and listen to our bodies and the signals that our bodies are giving us that there is a problem. So when we have symptoms, that's literally your body saying, knock, knock, hello, something's not right. We need to fix this. And so you want to listen to those little small calls and those, your body reaching out to you. Like, don't ignore them, because if you do over time, it leads to you having diseases. And so this is what we're here for. We want to balance these chemicals. And so my 4-step real strategy is listed here. And so the real you're going to reclaim your body, embody your diet, avoid the slippery slope. I know you might be wondering, like, what is that about? Okay, but we're going to get there this week. And liver strong. And all of these together are important. They work together. And so we're going to go on a journey together to be able to understand each of these individual components and how you can make things better for you. So today we're focusing on reclaiming your body. And so with that, we're going to put this entire puzzle together by the end of the week, okay? And so the very first thing, okay, and if you just joined in again, and if you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and so you want to type that in really quickly so that you can give permission to our streaming program here to show your name when you're commenting, because we're going to go into our prizes and different things for this evening. So if you can just do that quickly, if you haven't done so your name doesn't and your comment doesn't show up as Facebook user, so we know exactly who you are, and you'll be able to enter for the prizes today, okay? And so reclaiming your body starts with removing estrogens, okay? So estrogens are super important for us as females, We're hormonal. Yes, we are. One of our most dominant hormones is estrogens. And estrogens in excess can be a problem. And this excess is actually most people's problems. And so if you think that and know that you've been having like an estrogen problem, then go ahead and start commenting in or right below on this video, on this live stream, because it's a really common thing. And we're going to talk about what that looks like. And so as we're talking, if there is anything that you relate to, that you're just like, listen, yes, I have that issue, and it might be a signal that you're having too much estrogens. And we're going to talk about how to remove these from your body so your body can actually function well. And so an unhealthy microbiome, whenever we talk about microbiome, I'm going to use this term quite a bit as we talk and learn together. And so the microbiome, micro really refers to all the little tiny bacteria that makes us human, keeps us alive, and can cause problems as well, right? And so in our gut, we have a microbiome. In our vaginas, we have a microbiome. On our skin, we have the same. And so each part of our bodies are essentially protected by these microorganisms, and bad ones can always enter into that space and cause an infection, cause a problem, cause diseases. And so when we refer to microbiome, we're talking about all of those bacteria and species all together. And so an unhealthy microbiome means that when you're looking at the amount of good bacteria that we have and the amount of bad bacteria that we have, the bad is outweighing the good. And so we want the reverse to happen. And so when this happens in our gut, we can have a lot of estrogen problems. And this can cause your estrogens to lag in your system, in your body, in your circulation, in your muscles, in your joints, in your pelvis, in your brain, hang around way too long and cause your body to start becoming dysfunctional. And so I'm going to dive into that a little bit more so that you can kind of understand what I mean here. So estrogens they're responsible. So when I think of estrogens, I'm thinking about what makes us look like a female, feel like a female. Okay. And if you've gotten to the point of menopause, it probably became like highlighted in your mind what that feeling was like, because once the estrogens drop pretty tremendously, you start to feel like you don't feel the same anymore. You don't think the same. Your energy is not the same. Your body doesn't feel the same. Your vagina doesn't feel the same. You're having the hot flashes and the night sweats, and you're having all these changes physically as a result of your estrogens dropping. And so estrogens are key. They're super important to who we are and how we feel. And so our bodies will make 3 different types of estrogens, and I'm going to talk about them in the reverse. Okay. And so estriol, which is E3 in our system, that is our weakest estrogen. Okay. And so we make 3 types. It is the weakest of the 3. And this is often present when you are in the womb, okay, during pregnancy. And so we don't really measure it. We don't really watch it when you're in the womb. It doesn't really it has effects, but not anything that you can kind of tell, right? We can't talk to babies and talk to a little baby girl and ask her, how things are feeling. But we know that this is the estrogen that is most dominant in pregnancy, in the womb, and shortly after you're born. And so that is like long gone, okay? Now, E2, which is estradiol, this is the estrogen that starts at the point of puberty. Okay, so when you get into puberty, menarche, you have your first period and your hormones really start ranging. This is the form of estrogen that causes your breast to grow, that causes your axillary, like your armpit hairs to grow, and to get you to be a little bit more curvy, right? It kind of gives you those womanly looks. That's the estradiol. The estradiol is also responsible for your ovulation each month. It is responsible for your periods coming. It is responsible for all the changes that occur for you to go through pregnancy, for you to be postpartum, for you to recover, for you to go through your menstrual cycles, everything all the way up until menopause. It is a very strong form of estrogens. And so that's the one that once you have a major change in it, you start to feel the symptoms. And so when you get to menopause, that estradiol plummets and is really barely in existence anymore. And then you get now a dominance of estrone, E1. And so it's predominantly in menopause. And this type of estrogen doesn't come from the ovaries. It doesn't come from the adrenal glands like estradiol does. This is coming from fat cells. Okay. So if you happen to be in the menopausal state, this is your dominant form, and it's really coming from your fat cells. Okay, it's kind of also linked with the reason why you have certain types of fat develop on your bodies once you get to menopause. We'll talk about that throughout the challenge, but that's estrone. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If it does, go ahead and drop a comment for me so I know that you're following along as we dive in a little bit deeper here. Okay, now once we create this estrogen, okay, so assuming that we're talking about estradiol E2, right? So we make all of these estrogens on a daily basis. Your brain is functioning normally, your ovaries functioning well, your follicles or your eggs are producing this estrogen, and everything's looking pretty good, right? Once we make that, your body is actually starting to break it down metabolically, and what we get from that is called a metabolite. Okay, so you have an estrogen. The estrogen breaks apart into smaller particles called metabolites, and those are activating things in our bodies. Okay, so for instance, to have a period, this estradiol will go to your uterus, and it will cause the inside layer of your uterus to grow and grow and get thicker and get thicker. That's what an estrogen will do. Estrogen will cause you to grow, to gain. That's what it does. And so inside of the uterus, that's important because if you don't have estrogens creating that growth on the inside, you're not going to get a period, right? So when you ovulate, your estrogens go down, and then your progesterone says, hey, it's time for us to bleed off all of that tissue the estrogens just built up. And so that process continues all the way until you get to menopause. You grow a little bit of thickness because of the estrogens. It will go down, and progesterone say, hey, bleed. Build up tissue. Progesterone says bleed. And so you go back and forth all the way until you run out of your eggs and you're no longer functioning when it comes to your estrogens. So with that, it is super important. Now, imagine this, okay? So listen on in. If you have a lot of estrogens in your body hanging around and you're not getting rid of them, then what happens is that your estrogens will continue to build up in your system over time and cause you to have an estrogen dominance. And so I want you to really kind of understand this background information so that we can get to the point of understanding how balancing our hormones, how it works together, and why it's really important. And so we want to get rid of these extra estrogens so that we don't have other problems. So for instance, and before I dive in too fast, have you all heard of estrogen dominance? If you have, drop a comment here if you've heard of estrogen dominance. Okay. Nobody? Okay, so if you're no, okay, Jocelyn said no. Okay. Okay, Sue knows. Okay, Charlene says no. Okay. And so I see a little bit of a lot of people saying that they've never heard of estrogen dominance. And so I'm going to talk about this because yes, I'm seeing more and more. So estrogen dominance is really a hormonal state that can be quite dangerous for a lot of reasons. Okay. And so what happens is that in females, most of us will have an increased level of estrogens. And this is in relationship to progesterone. So we have estrogens, progesterones, and testosterone. Every female and every male will have all three hormones. And females should have higher estrogens out of all three. Males should have higher testosterone out of all three. And so when you have an excessive amount of estrogens compared to your progesterones, the ratio is very high. And this puts you into a state of being estrogen dominant. And so with that, it causes a lot of things in your body, including having cancers of the uterus and the breast, including having problems like fibroids, having endometriosis, having PCOS, having a very difficult perimenopausal state, and even a menopausal state. And so I've had so many people in my programs, like in the mastermind, say that they didn't realize that in a menopausal state that you can still have an estrogen dominance. You can, because you're still producing a low degree of estrogen, but if your progesterones and your testosterones are even more lower, you can have this estrogen dominant state that can lead to a lot of problems otherwise. And I didn't mention here, but estrogen dominance leads to weight gain, and it makes it difficult to lose weight because, again, you're hormonally in a state where you are actually causing the reverse of what you want. You're unable to maintain your weight, unable to lose weight efficiently and maintain that over time because your hormones are so high when it comes to your estrogens. And so it's very, very dangerous to be in this state for a very long time. And so let's just run through some of the symptoms, just in case you're wondering, well, I don't know. I've never heard of estrogen dominance before, and I don't know if I potentially may have this, right? And so here are some of the symptoms. I'm going to mention a lot of them pretty quickly here, okay? PMS, okay? Headaches, especially when you're around a cycle, bloating, puffiness, water retention, mood swings or irritability, crying very easily, having tender, swollen, or fibrocystic breasts, having irregular or abnormal or heavy periods, spotting in between your cycles, having weight gain, as I mentioned, weight gain, having fat gain, especially around the mid portion, your abdomen, your hips, feeling very tired and lethargic all the time, just extremely tired. And here are more fibroids, okay? The same medical name as myoma. So your fibroids, you're having ovarian cyst, endometriosis, you have a low libido, hair loss, any kind of estrogen related cancers, infertility, miscarriages, trouble sleeping at night, allergies, especially with histamine intolerance, accelerated aging over time, brain fog, memory issues, hot flashes, even when you're not menopausal as yet. Yes, you can have random hot flashes and you're not even in a perimenopausal state. Restless legs at night, feeling groggy when you're waking up in the morning, an increase in colds or infections, feeling anxious or easily stressed, dizzy, high blood sugars. Do you guys get the notion of what I'm saying here? Estrogen dominance is more common than we talk about, that we share, and not enough information is really presented to the community about what's happening here. And so if you've experienced any of these symptoms of estrogen dominance, go ahead and share it in the comments and share it in the chat, so that we can see and realize that we're more connected as people. We're experiencing more things together than we even know. And so, yes, so I see, this is so me, every single one. And so the more that these things are happening, again, I see someone here that my doctor has never shared that before. Just understand that sometimes it's a lot easier to treat the problems, right? You have fibroids, let's treat them. You have cysts, let's treat them. You have endometriosis, let's treat them. And as opposed to understanding what they mean, what's causing these, and how to correct them. And so, yes, hot flashes at night, trouble sleeping. Yeah, so many things. And when as a physician myself, it makes me very sad when I see these things over and over again. I treat this and deal with this every day, like every day. And it's sad, but you're here and we're going to learn and do something about it. And so if we can do this one at a time and we can share this message with others, and we'll be able to make a change over time. And so now let's go into our giveaway. Okay, I think this is a good point here. All right. I see a lot of people are still under a Facebook username. So again, while you're here, if you'd like to participate in this giveaway, go ahead to streamyard.com/Facebook and just give permission for your name to be shown when you make a comment. Okay, because everyone here can is able to win or be able to be in the draw for this win for a hormone assessment, so that you can know if you are estrogen dominant or not. Okay, and in general, to know which hormone, estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone, is actually dominating your system. Okay, this is what this assessment will tell you, and in that you get to work with me one-to-one as you go through this assessment. Okay, again, this is a $450 worth prize that we're giving away today. Okay, so go ahead over. And so you may have seen Jasmine. We're going to welcome Jasmine. Hey Jazz. So Jazz is a part of the Dr. P team. She was like the heart of the Dr. P team, honestly. And so you may have seen her in our group here or there, but she's always there, always behind the scene, and is probably 99% responsible for a lot of the things that you're seeing. And so Jazz is going to go ahead and yeah, you're welcome. So she's going to walk you through and select our winner for a giveaway or a prize tonight. Jazz, it is all you.
All right, thank you. Oh, sorry. Okay, so like Dr. Perkins said, because I can still see a few people whose names are coming up as Facebook user, I want everybody to be able to win. I want everybody to be able to win, to have that chance. So I'm going to give everybody just a few seconds. If you could please, the comment is pinned. Just go to, you can literally click on the link in that comment, press approve, and come right back. Shouldn't take you longer than 30 seconds. Let's get that done, because again, I want to make sure that everybody has a chance at winning not only this giveaway, but our upcoming giveaways as this boot camp continues to go. Oh, hey, see, it says, hey, Miss Jazz, but it says Facebook user. See, this is what I'm talking about. I need to make sure that you head on over to StreamYard.com/Facebook and go ahead and accept it so that we can see your name. Okay, guys, it's super, super important. Okay. So while I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to do that, and while a couple of seconds, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead. I need you guys to get ready, because I have a question. It's a 3-part question that I'm going to be asking. It's a 3-part question that I'm going to be asking in order to win this giveaway. Okay, guys? So I'm going to give you guys just a couple. Lakeisha, yes, I can see your name. Do I go on Facebook? Yes. So the link is actually in the comment section. I pinned it already. It should be under Dr. Carrie Perkins' name. It's a pinned comment, so it should be toward the top. And if you click on that exact link, you head over, it will say approve. It's like a big blue button. You click that button and you come right back on over, okay? Can my messages be seen? Yes, Lady 7, I can see you. Hey, Jasmine. Hey, I can see you. Yes, okay. Okay, this is looking a lot better. No, ma'am, I cannot see. Can you see my name? Oh, Tiffany, yes, now I can. There it is. I think I'm in. Yes, you are. Okay, great. Okay, good. So I think, so if I pull up, is my name showing? Yes, Connie, I can see your name. Okay, I think we're good. I'm seeing a lot more names and a lot less Facebook users. Okay, so let's jump into and let's do this. All right, guys. So as Dr. Perkins has mentioned, we are it is our goal to help you with your hormones. It is our goal to help you on your road to balancing your hormones and regaining not only your body, but your life, right? But a part of that is definitely going to be, it's going to be a little work. It's going to be a little work. So my question for you tonight is, what are 3 things? What are 3 things that you are willing to do to see this change? What are 3 areas in your life that you are willing to make simple, easy to implement changes so that you can have the body and the life that you are desiring to have. Put that in the comments for me. 3 things that you are willing to do. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time, and we're going to I'm going to start going through the comments, and we'll be highlighting some of the people and some of the things that people are saying. Don't be afraid. Put it in there. Put whatever whatever you're willing to do. Let's kind of get to the nitty-gritty on this, and let's really see. What is this? Okay. Exercise, eat well, and sleep. Okay. Yes, 100%. We're definitely, you got to get that body moving, right? That's going to be super important. Moving. I feel like as Americans, just in general, we live a very sedentary lifestyle a lot of times, right? And going to the gym and moving and walking and that type of stuff, it's just not really in our life anymore like it used to be. So yes, 100% got to get that exercise in. What do we have here? Clean eating. Oh, that's Dr. P is definitely big on the clean eating. She will mention that a little bit later on for sure, but she is definitely big on clean eating, healthy diets, veggies, all of that. So that's a good one. I'm glad to hear that. Eating, exercising. Okay, so guys, what I think I'm gonna do, okay, you know what? I think I really like this one. Change my diet, my output on being healed, and self-investment, putting me first. You know what? I really like your comment. Because at the end of the day, it does definitely start in the mind. It's our mindset that we have to change. It's that mindset shift, right? Like you can say all day that you're going to go to the gym and you're going to exercise and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. But if you don't have that mindset change, if you don't have the motivation to actually do so, right? And on the days that you don't have the mind, if don't have the motivation, if you don't have that extra oomph to just do it because you've changed your mindset, it's not going to happen. So I love this comment, Alicia. I really think this is like, for me, this is a good one. I actually think I want to pick you as the winner because I truly, truly love this comment. And I really love how you've mentioned the mindset, because that's the most important piece here. So let me let Dr. P know that we have picked a winner. But while we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of these other comments. Dr. P, I see that you are back. I picked Alicia because I really loved her comment. I really loved how she mentioned about putting herself first and changing that mindset, because that truly is like the core of everything, right? We're not going to get anything done if we don't have that mindset shift.
That's right. That's right. Congratulations, Alicia. I agree with you 100%. That mindset is everything. We're going to talk about some of that too. And you know what? It's a good start. It's a good start. If you haven't made that change in your mind, then nothing's going to happen physically, right? You need that long-term commitment and to be able to invest in putting you first. So lovely. So Alicia, what you'll do is that I want you to send your information over to us at support@callmedrp.com. Okay. And so we'll put that in the chat for you. Okay. Yes. And so you send that over to us, and then we'll give you the information and get you started with your assessment so that we can know if you are in a hormone dominant state of any kind, and give you information on what you can do to specifically be able to make a change. All right. So congratulations. Oh,
Congratulations,
wonderful.
Alicia.
Yes. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And so now let's dive into the strategy here. Okay. The strategy having to do with where we are today and how do we reclaim things. And so remember, this is day 1, and we're going to dive in deeper as we go from session to session to session until we finish this challenge at the end of the week. And so the first part of this removing the estrogens in your system is going to be a healthy lifestyle. Okay. And I know you're saying, well, yeah, we've heard this forever. Like, Dr. P, you're not telling me anything new. Okay. We're going to dive into this, but hear me out. A healthy lifestyle that allows for a normal weight. And we may not be at that point right now where we have a normal weight for us. And actually in my mastermind, we dive into how to calculate those things, how to figure out where we are and where we need to be, and how do you create that journey. And I help you create that journey to that normal weight where you need to be. But the thing behind creating a normal weight is that If you don't, you're going to increase the likelihood of you having insulin resistance. And so when you have insulin resistance, if you've heard of this term before, if you suffer with PCOS, for instance, about 70% of people with PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome suffer from insulin resistance. And so what this means is that you have a pancreas and your pancreas creates insulin. The point of insulin is to be able to, I consider it to be like a key to a door. And with that, insulin needs to open the door so that all of your organs can get some of the sugars that you're eating. So for instance, say you had a slice of pizza. It has the crust, that is carbohydrates. That carbohydrate breaks down into sugar in your body. If you were to have sushi, the rice in your roll breaks down as carbohydrates, but breaks down to your body as a sugar. If you were to have a breakfast sandwich, the bread is a carbohydrate that breaks down in your body as a sugar. And insulin is needed for your organs to be able to get their package, their serving of sugar, to be able to use it for energy. If your sugars ever drop low in your system, you start feeling weak and dizzy and lightheaded, and you kind of feel like something's not right, you go ahead and you have some sugars, and it helps your system over time. And so sugars are important. But if you don't have insulin operating and functioning well in your body, what happens is that those sugars remain inside of your circulation. It stays inside of your blood vessels, and your organs are not using it for energy. So your brain is not using it, your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys, your ovaries, your uterus, nothing is able to use that sugar. And so insulin is needed. So you may be making enough insulin. So you're not a diabetic because you're not making enough insulin. You're making it, but your cells and your body and your organs are not able to use that information and use that insulin to be able to actually get rid of the sugars that you're eating. And so eventually, if you have insulin resistance, it may lead to you having problems like diabetes and many more, metabolic syndrome, and I can kind of go down another pathway with that. But essentially, you want to decrease the likelihood of you having insulin resistance. And so with that, you can also have less testosterone because your testosterone is actually being used up and being turned into estrogens. And so, we don't have enough time in this session for me to break down what's happening with your estrogens and testosterone, but they all are they start from the same molecule. And so what you don't want is for all of your hormones, especially your sex hormones, to be able to be shifted and being made into more estrogens, because that causes you to be in an estrogen dominant state as well. And so that is not a good look. Increasing your sex hormone binding hormones, okay? This can happen if you are in a state of having too many estrogens. And so you've probably never heard of a sex hormone binding globulin before. And so it's actually really important because it is the vehicle that transport your hormones in your blood. And so it kind of just holds on and carries them to where they need to be. And so if you don't have enough, for instance, your body will not be able to respond to your hormones that you're making. If you have too much, that means that you're having too much transportation and too much happening with your hormones. And so that's not a good look either. And then decrease production of inflammatory mediators. You want to be able to decrease these things. As we're eating, living, functioning, breathing, doing things throughout our daily lives, we're actually causing a lot of inflammation internally. Inflammation in our cells, our bodies, our joints, everywhere. And so also when you're in a state of being estrogen dominant or being overweight or obese, you're increasing the amount of inflammation that's going on throughout your system. And so we want to reduce that. And so a part of that is maintaining your healthy lifestyle. So challenge number one here is, can you and are you willing to engage in moderate exercise at least 4 to 5 times per week? Okay. This is not saying you're going to exercise every day and intensely and be out there like a bodybuilder. It's saying that moderate is a little bit more than just going for a walk or running for the kids. It's intentional. But it's intentional for about 115 minutes per week in total. And so if you were to do that for 45 minutes a day, intentional, moderate exercise, you'd be able to get to about a total of 50 minutes, 150 minutes pretty easily by the end of the week. So are you willing to engage in this type of movement 4 to 5 times per week? And if you are, go ahead and drop it in the comment as well. Okay. Number 2, this is going to be a little bit medicine-ish. Okay. So I try not to go too deep into the science, but you want to prevent something called intestinal dysbiosis. Okay. This is an imbalance in your gut microflora. And actually, in all of the things that we will talk about strategies today, this is probably one of the most important, if you ask me. And when we work together in my mastermind, there's so many people that will almost immediately feel a big change based on these things that I'm mentioning right here. So the first thing is that inside of your microflora or your microbiome inside of your gut, this is a place where estrogen is going to be absorbed and brought back into your circulation. And so we don't want our estrogens to continually remain in our circulation because it builds up over time. The more it builds up over time, the more we struggle with things like weight loss, the way we feel, our libido, our skin, and acne, and all of the things that I mentioned earlier that I linked with being estrogen dominant. And so one of the greatest things that you can do, and you can start to do this today, is to eat a high fiber diet for a couple of reasons. One, you're doing this to be able to feed the bacteria in your gut, the good ones. Okay. And just to be clear what fiber is. Okay. So fiber is something that you eat that does not get broken down by your body. So when your gut goes through the process of digesting your food, breaking it apart, trying to break it into smaller molecules that your body can use for energy, fiber cannot be broken down. So when you eat fiber, you essentially would poop it out. And so with that, fiber is very important with being able to grab and snatch all this excess estrogens that are passing through your gut and trap your estrogens and allow you to poop them out so that they're not actually getting back into your body. They're not getting back into your circulation. They are not going back into your body, causing and wreaking havoc. And so eating a high fiber diet is key to being able to remove some of these excess estrogens. Next is really kind of intertwined with this is eating a diet high in what is called cruciferous vegetables. And so cruciferous vegetables are your broccoli, your cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Those are the 4 main vegetables that falls in that category. Okay. And naturally, if you actually increase the amount of fiber and these cruciferous vegetables that you're eating in your diet, you will avoid being constipated. How many of you actually poop and pass your bowels at least twice a day? Let me see it in the comments. At least twice a day, minimum. I'm not seeing any yet. Okay, Nicole, yes. Nicole is going twice a day. Okay, Valerie is going at least twice a day. Charm. Okay, Lucy is like, no, that's not me. That's not happening. Okay, I understand, and that's okay. Kiki goes at least once. Okay, depends on the day. So in general, you really should be trying to go at least once per day. Twice is even better. But if you can poop for every meal that you eat, like clockwork, you are on target. Okay. And the likelihood, so it's, one research study was done where on women who are eating a vegetarian diet. Okay. And this is, we're not saying to be vegetarian. We'll go into diet and food a lot more tomorrow. But it's this study specifically looked at people who were vegetarian versus people who were not. And it showed that they had a lower level of estrogen in their overall bodies and less estrogen dominance by almost 20%. That is an insane amount. And that's because when they tested their poop had more estrogens than someone who was not vegetarian. And so what's the difference? Obviously, vegetarians are eating a lot more vegetables. And so they're able to excrete and get rid of all of this excess estrogens that are in their bodies a lot more. And so while I'm not saying that you should be a vegetarian, okay, because we're going to talk about diet tomorrow and the key to, going about getting hormonally balanced and all the things that you like to do to be who you want to be and to feel better, we're going to talk about why I don't necessarily recommend vegetarian diet, but we're going to talk about it. But with that, your challenge number 2 is to add green vegetables with every meal. And so you might be thinking again, like, okay, Dr. P, hello. Yes, I can do this, but is it going to make a difference? It is going to make a huge difference, because before we can add all the other strategies that we're going to talk about this week, you want to get rid of this excess amount of estrogen. So if you think about it, you're trying to get your body to operate a certain way, but it's being blocked by these excess estrogens that are in your system because you're not pooping enough, you're not having enough green vegetables, you're not getting rid of all of these excess in your systems. It's going to be very hard for you to achieve anything that you want to do today physically. It is going to be difficult. You have to clear that excess estrogens out of your body first. Yes, other than spinach, what vegetable can you add to breakfast? You can add any of these vegetables, Netta. Add any of them to. So think about this. You can make an omelet and you can put in your peppers, like your bell peppers. You can put in tomatoes. You can have your broccoli in there. You can have all types of things, right, in your omelet. You can create a bed of vegetables. So for my breakfast, for a good period of time, I would just cut up and steam, like saute my asparagus, green beans. Believe it or not, I got so addicted to green beans and cauliflower. Cauliflower is one of the most versatile vegetables there is, because you can make this with so many different forms. You can make tater tots out of them. You can make bread and crust out of them. There's so many different ways for you to be creative and add vegetables. So cauliflower is amongst those cruciferous vegetables. And so outside of that, you do want to add greens. Okay, so you want to mix those green vegetables somewhere in there. But steaming them, sauteing them works very, very well to be able to keep you having enough. Okay, so definitely challenge yourselves to be able to add a green vegetable. And yes, I am 100% asking for the green color to be there. Okay, add the green vegetables to every single meal. And the good thing is that even if you were, running errands and you were to go to, I don't know, Chick-fil-A, they have green vegetables on the side as option. Just get your little kale salad on the side and add it in. And so if you're purposeful about actually being able to add these green vegetables to your meals, you'll realize that you are able to do this almost everywhere. You can go to dinner and do it. You can go to lunch and do it. You can cook and do it. You just have to tell yourself in your minds that I'm about to do this, and I'm going to start by adding my green vegetables to every single meal. And so number 3, I think Alicia mentioned this, right? Decreasing the stress. You are spot on, Alicia, like spot on here. And so what happens when we're stressed out? Well, our stress hormone, cortisol, increases. It increases pretty high. And when that happens, it actually is using up some of your progesterone that is needed to balance out your estrogens. Okay. And so what happens? You end up being more estrogen dominant just from being stressed out. And yes, I know you're probably also thinking it's easier said than done because there are stressors all around us. Short stresses are fine. So if you have a stress that, say, I don't know, say your bank account got negative today and you got to the bank tonight and you added funds and it's no longer negative, that stress is over, right? And so if something happened at home and you had a leak and it stressed you out, but you got it fixed, it's no longer there. It's not a stress anymore. Those kind of stresses are actually more healthy. They're fight or flight. They're important for your bodies. Those are fine. But if you're having stress that is leading to just prolonged months and months of the same continuous stress, your cortisol level gets really high, remains high, and it causes your hormones to be imbalanced. And so this is why we mention it here, because it's very important that you're aware of what your stresses are like so that you can improve that. Okay. And so increasing your cortisol leads to increased stress, leads to less progesterone, leading to higher estrogens. Okay. Because the ratio gets increased. And so challenge number 3, have your coping techniques, relaxation exercises, and even your mind body practices, have something ready on the go for whenever you get into a stressful scenario. So it's harder for you to be in the process of being stressed out, for you to think of trying to cope, like coping mechanisms, because you're going through the motion. Your stress is kind of like taking you on a whirlwind, like of a ride. And so it's a little bit too late. But if you can have your coping mechanisms in place so that you know that stress is going to happen, we're going to experience it at some point, but we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready. And someone said, I love journaling. Oh my gosh. In the mastermind, we do journaling. We love journaling. Yes, it is a great way for us to de-stress. And so if you were to look at the journals that I have here, I have like a stack of journals sitting right next to me in my office. And so it's a great way for you to be able to have things in place. And so yes, journaling is amazing. So that's your 3rd challenge for today. And so next is removing, I'm going to skip and go back to the microbiome, but not having a lot of excessive alcohol intake. Okay. I know you've heard, okay, alcohol is not our friend. Okay. It feels like it when we're drinking. Okay. Included, I'm guilty. Okay. I am super, super guilty. But excessive alcohol, excessive. Okay. Hint, hint, excessive. Okay. Not any. Excessive alcohol intake will increase your estradiol levels. Okay. So that's another key. Okay. I'm not going to challenge you with that today, but just know that we want to decrease the amount of alcohol intake that we're having. Promoting a healthy intestinal microbiome. And so with this, when you eat your green vegetables, you're really promoting a healthy microbiome. You're really helping your gut tremendously. And so when you're not taking in enough green vegetables, then you want to supplement with probiotics, okay, as necessary. And so number 5, we're going to dive into a little bit later this week, but it's avoiding xenoestrogens. I'm going to go into what that is for you and how you can make these changes around your life, because we have estrogens everywhere around us. And so if you're aware of if you can recognize an estrogen, like if you can look at a bottle and say that's estrogen and that's estrogen and go around, if you're aware of these things, then you're able to avoid them around you so that you can remove those estrogens that are problematic in our lives. Okay. And so I get this question a lot. So it's just like, okay, Dr. P, help me out. How do I select or what type of probiotics would you recommend? And so these are some of my picks here. And so I super love everything about Garden of Life. And so a lot of the probiotics and supplementations that I recommend really come from that brand, but there are others as well. And so I have them listed here for you. And so the Native Path probiotic, this one is, both of these are actually doctor formulated and they're traceable. There's so many. I mean, you can actually even feel the difference when you're taking some of these probiotics. And so you can try those, or Ritual Symbiotic Plus. And so excellent, excellent options for probiotics. So I gave it to you before you even asked, okay? Because I usually get these questions a lot here. And so now let's go into your thoughts and questions. And so let's see, I'm going to go back and kind of go through them. If you have any questions or comments so far on what we talked about removing these estrogens today, you go ahead and you drop them in the comment, okay? Let's see, I guess the immunosuppressants took care of the alcohol component for me. Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's go back. And Jazz, if you saw any specific questions,
Oh,
let
I
me know if
did.
I missed anything, okay?
Yeah, I got it.
Um,
Um,
okay, go ahead. So I do meditation and listen to music. Love it. How much detail does estrogen hormone assessment give? And so the estrogen assessment gives lots of details about a couple of different things. So first off, the way that I do my assessments, and I do these like manually, right? Like one-to-one. So first off, you give information about you, okay? Because I think of medicine, I think of us challenging ourselves in a way that's not very cookie cutter. And so the good thing about the estrogen hormone assessments is that we're able to kind of tailor that to you. So I'd love to know more about you, what medical problems you have, medications that you're taking, so that as we are tailoring your assessment, your final report, that you're getting information more detailed, more specific for you. Okay, so for my assessments, my one-to-one assessments are pretty much in detail. Your report will probably be somewhere between 70 and 100 pages long. Okay, and so with that, we also have some communication with that so that we can tailor this specifically for you. Okay, I love journaling. I love it too. Okay. I'll do. Okay,
Dr.
very
P, I got a
good.
question. I got a question
Yes.
for you. I'm put it up
Go
on
ahead.
the screen. Here you go.
Right. Can I fix my period to ovulate every month that I'm having every 5 months? Okay, so you're having periods every 5 months at the age of 20. Is it possible that I'm infertile due to this? Okay, so I think I understand your question, Shanti. Okay, so the first thing is that if you're not ovulating, you're not going to have a period. So that's number one. Okay, so no ovulation, no period. If you're not ovulating, ovulation is a process of you being able to mature an egg and actually release it from the ovary. If your eggs are being trapped inside of your ovary, then guess what? You can't get pregnant, because a sperm, it is impossible for a sperm to penetrate into an ovary to get to an egg to be able to fertilize it. And so that egg has to be 100% has to be released. And so if you're not ovulating regularly, you're not providing your body with the eggs you need to be able to meet with the sperm to be able to get pregnant. And so it could mean that you may have difficulty getting pregnant. I wouldn't say that you're infertile, because even if you ovulate once every 5 months, which I don't recommend, it's not healthy, it's not safe, it's not what we want. But even if it's every 5 months, you're ovulating. So that's one egg that has the potential, if sperm is ready and available, ready to go, that you can get pregnant. So you may have difficulty getting pregnant. I wouldn't say that you're completely like infertile. Okay. Now, for somebody who's menopausal, for instance, and they're no longer producing eggs, you're infertile. You're no longer in a fertile state. If you got premature menopause, you are no longer fertile. If you had states of radiation or chemotherapy because of cancer, if you had your ovaries removed, that can cause you to be infertile. Okay. But as far as you're still ovulating just irregularly, you still have some fertility. We'd want to enhance that. So a part of balancing your hormones is really to allow your body to function and do the things it's supposed to do normally. And so you should be ovulating regularly if you're not menopausal. And so balancing your hormones will help your ovaries be able to release those eggs regularly. And so if you've not investigated to see why you're having these irregular periods, now's the time. Okay, now is the time to get that done. See your OBGYN, get your testing done, and check to see why you're really in a hormonally imbalanced state, just from your question. But you want to dive in a little bit deeper to find out why.
I got another one for you.
Okay. I thought I was going through menopause, but my gynecologist said that my testosterone levels are very low, like 9. Okay. She said pellet therapy replacement testosterone would help with my symptoms. Are there any adverse effects to this type of therapy? And so any kind of therapy is therapy, okay? And so what happens is that you're getting something what is called exogenous. So you're getting medication, you're getting hormones, you're getting something outside of your system. And so they all come with risks, right? And so what I'm curious to know is I would love to know your age because your age plays a part. Like if you're going through these symptoms and you're 25 versus 45, this can really make a big difference. And so in general, our testosterone should be lower. In general, it should be lower. Why? Because we're not males. We should have just a small amount of testosterone in our systems. We don't want high testosterones. And so I would want a little bit more information about what's happening here. But pellet therapy, if your gynecologist deemed that this is what you need to raise your testosterone a little bit, in general, it's a pretty safe procedure for them to place these pellets internally to be able to help with your levels. And so I would just need a little bit more information to be able to answer your question fully here.
All right, got another one.
Okay. Can you start menopause early if one has gotten their tubes tied? No. If so, is that a bad thing? So no, tying your tubes does not bring you into menopause. Okay. And I get this question a lot. Tying your tubes, if I were to kind of show you my quick diagram here, hopefully you can see it. And so your fallopian tubes are these little tiny portions that are here. I don't know if you can really see this little circular bubbly thing right here. That's an ovary, and that ovary is producing your hormones. These tubes, when you have them tied, they're not affecting your hormones at all. The purpose of your fallopian tubes literally is for egg and sperm to meet together. It is a bridge. They bring them together, nothing else. And so you should not go into menopause just from tying your tubes. Nobody should. And if they told you that that's happening, that's not true. Okay. If you take out your ovaries, different story. Okay. Because you can get into menopause early if they take out your ovaries. Okay. But no. I have used progesterone cream before. Would that cause estrogen dominance? No. Actually, progesterone creams help to create more balance if your progesterone is low. Okay. And so this is why, like in certain scenarios, we'll tell you to use a little bit of progesterone, but primarily during pregnancy. So if you are having a hard time getting pregnant, keeping pregnancies, and your progesterones are extremely low, then we'll give you some more because you kind of need that. Progesterone in general is like a pregnancy. Like think of P&P. Progesterone is a pregnancy friendly hormone. You want lots of that. And so that's one scenario where we might use progesterone. Outside of that, we don't use it much often. And in general, we want your progesterone to be in a decent level because it's protective. It is a good hormone. If you ask me, if I had to choose between estrogens and progesterones, I would say, I mean, estrogens make you feel good and make you feel like a woman and all of that, which is great. But progesterone is equally as needed to be able to balance that because too much estrogens can lead to cancers, as we talked about, can cause some of these other medical conditions. And so you don't want too much estrogens in your system at any given point. You want to be able to balance that out with enough progesterone. So you can't have too much progesterone. Like you cannot have too much, and it actually balances out your estrogens to not cause a dominance. If your progesterone is low and your estrogens are high, that's a dominance. Good question. Love them. If I was told that I'm in menopause, I'm 39, does that mean I don't have any eggs? Yes. I've never been pregnant. It's been 3 years since a period. So I'm going to say yes, but I want to kind of dive into this question a little bit more. If you've never had what is called an AMH test, an anti-Mullerian hormone, then you should get that test done. Okay, you're 39, you're very young. If you're having menopause or you're in menopause at this time, that is because of a reason. There's a reason for that, and you want to know why. And so a part of, if you still have eggs, you will have an AMH level. And so I'm going to explain. If your AMH level comes back at 0, it means you're in menopause. That means you have no eggs, because eggs produce AMH. So if you have AMH in your system, you will have something greater than 0. Greater than 1 is an amazing place to be. This is where you want to be. Less than 1 is a difficult time for you to get pregnant, but 0 means that you're in menopause. You have no more eggs left. So if you haven't gotten that test done, I would ask for your doctors, and literally any doctor can order this test. And I say that because sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why tests are not necessarily being done, but an AMH test will give you a good answer. So I would say get that done, and that will confirm if you have any eggs left. Good question. What are probiotics? Good question. And so, with probiotics, I should really talk about prebiotics as well. But probiotics essentially are things that feed your good bacteria. So it's food for the good bacteria in your gut. And so you want to be able to encourage the good bacteria in your gut to be able to thrive and to grow and to multiply and to do all the things that are necessary to protect your gut, to be able to help you with your estrogens. And so probiotics are food, essentially, for the bacteria. Prebiotics does that as well too. Okay, and so both of them are important. A lot of prebiotics you can get from the foods that you're eating and the vegetables. So when you're eating your green vegetables, you're adding some of that prebiotic and prebiotic to your system. And so probiotics is good bacteria. You want to add more to your system. You want to help the bacteria that's there by encouraging their growth and their health as well. So probiotics, it is one of those things. And I know we're not talking about vaginas here, but I talk about vaginas a lot. And so with that, a lot of probiotics will also have bacteria that's really good for the vagina, that helps with your vaginal health, that helps with your vaginal microbiome. Okay. And so they come in the form, essentially you're adding more healthy, good bacteria to your system when you're taking probiotics. And so in what forms can you get them? So I know I talked about the supplements, but outside of that, when you have like a yogurt, when you see all that liquid on top of your yogurt, that's a lot of cultures and bacteria that is actually needed. Don't throw that off. Okay, so if you happen to be eating a yogurt, you want to mix that in, because that's probiotics, and it's going to help your gut by providing more healthy bacteria for your body. Kombucha, kefir, kimchi, these are all other ways that you can actually get more probiotics without actually having supplements as well. So important for us as females to take a probiotic, especially if you're not eating a lot of green vegetables. So very good. Can we take Metamucil? That's yes. So if you're trying to increase the amount of fiber that you're eating, you can take Metamucil. But in general, you'll hear me say this a few times. My recommendation is for you to get your fiber from your diet as much as you can. If you're just like, I'm struggling, Dr. P, I can't eat these green vegetables for every meal. I can't do this. I need a little bit more fiber. Metamucil is a good option for you to do. There's also psyllium husk. Okay, I'm going to type that in the comments here because it could be a difficult one to type. Okay, psyllium husk is another good option that is very much like Metamucil, where you can add it to your drinks and your smoothies and different things that you're eating to be able to help you get that fiber that you need. But if you eat your green vegetables, they come with that fiber, and they will help your bowels, they will help your body, and you won't necessarily need to purchase something like Metamucil to help you out. But good question. I have Graves' disease, so I had a total thyroidectomy. I went from hyper to hypo, which is very common. So for those who don't know, Graves' disease is when you have too much thyroid activity. And so people with Graves' disease have a very hard time maintaining their weight. They get a lot of heart problems, palpitations, a lot of symptoms, which is opposite than having hypothyroidism, which means that you're having more weight gain and you feel more cold and you have more difficulty losing weight because your thyroid is on the lower end. And so a thyroidectomy is a surgery to remove your thyroid. And so if in general, we try not to remove the entire thing because we want that gland to continue to provide your body with hormones. But sometimes we do a little bit too much, and then your levels become low, and then you have the opposite effect. And so, and I gained all the weight back. So yes, it's very common that with Graves, you lose a lot of weight. But with hypothyroidism, you gain weight pretty quickly. And I haven't felt good since. Trying a lot of things to get my focus and energy back. What do you do? So the first thing that you're going to do is to make sure that your thyroid levels are up to par. And so thyroid is one of those hormones that I do recommend that you actually take your supplements for. And with your scenario, you don't have any more gland to actually make that production for you. So you will need to take that as a medication. And so number one is to make sure that you're taking that regularly. So your thyroid is intact. Your levels are normal. Once your levels are normal, then you'll be able to actually go and make changes so that you can lose the weight. If your levels are continually low, and for everyone here, if you've not had your thyroid checked, get your thyroid checked. Okay, especially if you're struggling with losing weight, you want to make sure that your thyroid is functioning like it should. And so for you to be able to, in addition to balancing your hormones, thyroid produces hormones as well. You want to make sure that that level is where it should be, so that you can actually see the benefits of eating well and exercising and doing the things that you need to do to maintain your weight. Excellent question, Valerie. Why for PCOS do they suggest birth control? Isn't that estrogen? That's an excellent question. And so in a lot of my coaching sessions, I deal with a lot of people with PCOS. And so in general, PCOS is a hormonal imbalance. And it's a hormonal imbalance that you can correct without medication. Okay. So the first thing, again, is understanding how PCOS functions, how it works, so that you're able to reverse that and not need medication. And so in general, the times that I would recommend, and I'm not going to say only, majority of the time I won't use birth control as a treatment option for PCOS unless you're going a very long period of time and you're not having a period, because you need to clean out your uterus on a regular basis. And so sometimes you need hormones to be able to physically do that, to clear out this bad tissue, rather than continue to go and go and go and go and not have a period. And so sometimes I recommend it just so you can have a period to clear out that uterus, so that you can decrease the likelihood of you having cancer. That's one. Number two, with people with PCOS, you really want to actively balance those hormones. And so if a patient is like, if I teach you about PCOS and the things that you need to do, and you're just like, I don't want to do. A lot of times we're not in the mind space to make change. We don't want to commit to the change. We're not in a position to be able to really be committed. It could be a lot of different reasons why that commitment is not there. But if you're in a scenario where you're just like, I can't physically make the changes that I need to do to balance my hormones so that I don't need meds, and this is the next best step, then we can use birth control. But is birth control an estrogen? It may be. Not all birth control has estrogens in them. And so if you're choosing to go on a birth control, I would actually probably recommend that you don't go on an estrogen birth control. And I do these in the hormone assessments, and we talk about, PCOS a lot in my mastermind. It's very important that you try not to get a lot of exogenous or outside synthetic estrogens where you can. And so options that are progesterone only, we have the injection, we have the implant, we have the IUDs. There's so many different options. There are even pills that are progesterone only pills. Remember, progesterones are protective. If you ever want to go for something, choose a progesterone. And so there are pills that are progesterone only pills as well. Good question, Charm. What are good vitamins to take? That's a great question. So a good vitamin, Garden of Life. I told you I love them, so I'm going to always mention them. Garden of Life, amazing company and brand, organic ingredients that are traceable. Traceable meaning that you can actually research and know exactly where the ingredients are coming from, that this is not just any mom and pop. I shouldn't say mom and pop because that's wrong. But this is not just any person growing and finding random ingredients to put into a vitamin that you don't know if it's tampered with anything, you don't know how clean it is. They're traceable. And so it is a high grade, really good form of vitamins that you can take. And they categorize that by your age group as well. So if you're menopausal, you can get something for menopause. If you're in your 40s, you can do that as well. So they provide you with a lot of options, including taking capsules as well as gummies. And so if you struggle like me, when I want to on any given day, I just don't like taking a pill sometimes. And so I will gummy it up. And so I will take my vitamins in a gummy form. And so they give you all of these options as well. So yeah. Can the green vegetables be eaten through smoothies? Yes. Okay. And so I have a smoothie recipe book that incorporates a lot of greens and gives you recipes and options to help to balance your hormones as well. And so greens are an excellent way to do that. You can add your kale, you can add your spinach. You could get more creative if you want to, your cucumbers and your celery. You can add a lot of different things to your smoothies and still get that daily count. Now, if you're juicing, that's a different scenario. Juicing means that you're removing that fiber. You don't want to remove the fiber. You want to keep that fiber. So as long as you're blending it all in, you're good to go. What about fruit? Fruit is just not a good thing for us, okay? So fruits and dairy, they fall in the same category. And so they're not really good options for females, especially those who are reproductive or menopausal, okay? And so the exceptions to that rule, because there always are exceptions, would be your berries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. You're good in that field. Blueberries, you kind of have to, you can go a little bit in on blueberries, but not too deep. But fruits otherwise, your body looks at sugar as sugar. When you eat white rice, it's sugar. When you eat an apple, it is sugar. When you have grapes, it is sugar. Your body does not differentiate and say, you know what? She just had a bowl of fruits. This is a good sugar. Sugar is sugar. And so you can still get that insulin resistance. You can still have, in general, as a whole, as Americans, we eat too much sugar. We just have too much sugar in our diet. You should not have any more than 25 grams of sugar per day. And I can tell you that if you have a can of soda, you're at about 45 to 50 already in just one can of soda. That's not incorporating the rice and the bread and the teas and the coffee and the lattes and the fruits and everything else that we're eating per day. And so it's very easy for us to be in an excessive amount of sugar state. It affects our vaginas, our pelvis, our reproductive system, or hormones, or just everything, our entire being. And so minimum fruits in your diet. In 2016, I had to have my right ovary removed. Since then, my hormones have been all over the place. I've gained a lot of weight. Sometimes I go 3 months without a period, and I PMS like crazy. You are hormonally imbalanced. Are there any supplements I can take to help? You know what? We want to balance your hormones. Okay, so your right ovary was removed, but you should still have your left. At 46, you're probably perimenopausal. Once you're in a perimenopausal state, that means that you're not quite at menopause yet, but your hormones are like this every single day, chaotic. Okay, and it's really on its way down as it's doing this. And so because of that, you're really experiencing bouts of menopause at the same time. And so while I don't think your symptoms are necessarily because you removed one of your ovary, unless you did not have your left. If you didn't have your left ovary, removing your right will put you into a state of being menopausal. If you still have your left, it should still be functioning as long as it was never touched before. It was never, like you never surgically operated on the left side before. So more than likely, a lot of your symptoms that you're mentioning right here is because you're in a perimenopausal state. And so with that, we need to balance your hormones. Okay, balancing your hormones will help you to be able to reduce this weight gain. And so sometimes we don't necessarily want to lose weight, but we want to maintain, right? And so if you're gaining, that means you're in a process of proliferation and growth. A lot of estrogens are activating your system and causing that. And so going 3 months without a period means you're perimenopausal. Okay, in this state. And so if I had to backtrack, perimenopause is a state anywhere between 7 to 10 years before you actually get to menopause. And so if you get to menopause on average, it's around the age of 51. That means it's from the age of 42 on, especially if you're African American, you are, especially if you're Black, you can be in this state of being perimenopausal as early as 42. And you're at 46. So you've been in the state potentially for several years. And so with that, your body is in a state of chaos. And so, yes, can you take supplements? And we talk about that. Okay. And so you can do that, but really you can make corrections. And so with corrections, if I had to throw a few things out there, I would have you lifting weights. Okay. Lifting weights, super important when you're perimenopausal and menopausal as well, to help you with your hormone balancing. I would have you make changes to your diet to remove things that are not good in your state, incorporating the things that we talked about today to be able to help you on that journey before we start talking about the supplements. But I have lots of supplements that also aids in the process, but I wouldn't rely just on the supplements. I would say that we want to make some changes to your lifestyle to help you on that journey, and then supplement on top of that. But there are a ton, and I also, there's a lot of things that I have for the community that's been really making huge changes and transformations with people. And one of that is a supplement guide as well that helps with that, especially in the mastermind. But we'll talk about those things later on this week. Excellent question. I have PCOS, hysterectomy, but still have ovaries. How do I stop the symptoms like darkening of the skin around the neck and facial hair? All of those are called hirsutism. Okay, those are linked with your hormones. Okay, and so the way that you help with the darkening of the skin and the facial hair is to get those hormones in control. Like, it's just needed. I've myself dealt with a touch of PCOS, hormonal imbalances. And so these things that I'm telling you are things that I've experienced. I've changed my life and the way that my body operates in these states based on this. I didn't talk about my fluctuations with hormones and different things over the years, but have I been through it? But instituting these strategies helps you to get on your journey with that. So you can help that. These are all hormonally based. And so once we can release the functioning of your ovaries, because right now they're trapped because of the hormones that are trapping them there. Once you release your ovaries, you'll be able to help with this neck and facial hair 100%. I had cramps and back pain. My menstrual was not heavy after 2 years. I started having estrogen problems, missed periods, heavy lining of the uterus. Yes, all estrogen problems. I just got it removed 2 months ago. Okay, so you just had hysterectomy, but found out I have 2 big fibroids and a few little ones, which may have been the problem from the start. Everything that so missed periods usually are not linked with fibroids. And so that sounds like a problem with your estrogens. Having a thicker lining, remember estrogens grow things, okay? And so you had a thicker lining that was heavy, that's a thickness. So that's an estrogen problem and not necessarily a fibroid problem. The cramps and the back pain are fibroid problems. Okay, so I'm glad that you got them out. And so it sounds like you had a successful surgery. So wonderful. I'm happy. And now you're just on your way to recovery. And so with that, they're gone. And so now it's onward and upward from here, but also balancing your hormones so that even though you don't have the uterus to show you that you have this heavy lining, your body, you'll feel the effects of you having a estrogen dominant state. Good question, Tarsha. Are there any remedies to ovarian insufficiency? No, unfortunately. Once we were born with all the eggs we'll ever have for a lifetime, all of us. And so once we lose those eggs, whether it's because we surgically had a problem, they just died a little bit earlier, you had medications that caused that to your eggs to be reduced pretty quickly. Sometimes you can have like autoimmune problems that can do this. Unless we correct the problem before they are completely depleted, once they're gone, they're gone. There's no replacement for them, unfortunately. So no remedies for that. Nothing that we have in technology and medicine at this time. What are some good meats to help us? Oh, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. I'm going to hold that question till tomorrow because we're talking a lot about diet and food tomorrow. Okay, so we'll talk about meats, and how to select them, and which ones are good for you, and what things you should avoid. So that's all going to be on our diet and foods tomorrow. How much sleep should I get per night? At least minimum 7 to 9. Okay, if you're menopausal, 7 is a good place to be. If you're not menopausal, you really want to aim for 8 to 9 per night. Good question. All right, lifting weights, the only exercise that you recommend? Primarily lifting weights, okay? And this is for every person. But lifting weights really does a lot of different things. So the first off, when you're actually activating those muscles, the first thing is that the amount of calories that you burn in that session actually exponentially increases when you stop working out. So even at night, overnight, you're still burning all these excess calories. And so if you're trying to maintain your weight or you're trying to lose your weight, you want to lift to do that. If you were to do cardio, and I'm all about dancing, I'm all about Zumba, I'm all about kickboxing, I'm all about cycling. Love it. My Peloton is right next to me, okay, in my office. Love it, love it, love it. However, once you're done with that activity, you are done with burning calories. That's it. So if you burn 150 calories, that's it. Lifting weights, even if you burn 150 calories in that moment, you continue to burn 150 calories every few hours after the end of your session. So it works out in your favor. But if you're menopausal, this helps with your bones, helps to strengthen them. It helps to your transition from perimenopause to menopause. It helps you with your heart health over time by just lifting. Now, if you lift progressively over time, you are actually helping your cardiovascular system, meaning your heart and your blood vessels. And so if you're not lifting on a regular basis, then doing cardio would be helpful to be able to keep your heart strong. But if you're lifting, you're doing that in your exercises. So you don't necessarily need to add that in. But if you do, a small amount, short exercises are really good. So in addition to lifting, another thing that I really highly recommend is HIIT workouts or HIIT cardio. Okay, so it's high intensity interval sessions, HIIT. And so with that, you're not doing cardio for an hour, you're not doing cardio for an hour and a half or even 45 minutes. You're doing 10 to 15 minutes of intervals. So intervals meaning you're giving your all, then you're resting for, like, say you gave your all for 30 seconds, you rested for a minute, then you gave your all, say running, you give your all, meaning you're huffing and puffing, like, like you're tired. Okay, you give your all, and then you're resting for like a minute, and you do that for about 10 to 15 minutes. That's a HIIT interval. You can do this with weights, you can do this with a Stairmaster, you can do this with cycling, you can do this with running, you can jogging, whatever you can do. There's so many different ways you can institute that method, but that helps you, helps your body, helps your heart without taking away from any benefits from physically strength training. So yes, I do recommend some HIIT training in between, but primarily strength all the way, weights all the way. And so I have a pack. I see your mouth moving, Jazz, but I can't hear you. So I have guides for training in the gym and at home to kind of help you build on lifting weights, because I know some of us, we don't want to go to a gym. We don't have time to go to the gym, but you're always at home and you always have a way to be able to lift at home. So I have exercise bands, but you can get resistance bands anywhere as well. But I have guides that I offer as well to help you on that journey to be able to work out and do weight training wherever you are. And so later on this week, we'll talk about those things a little bit more as well.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I was asking about how many more questions did you want to answer?
How many more do we have?
I mean, this could go on for a while. If that was
Okay. All right, let's take 2 more questions.
all
And if I
right.
didn't get to your question today, join us tomorrow and we'll get back on it tomorrow.
All
What do
right.
you got?
Do this one.
What causes dark circles and puffiness around the eyes? Is it due to liver problems? It could be due to your liver. It's so are you specifically only having this issue around your eyes? Because we're talking about anything from familial genetics. We're talking about your lifestyle. How is the rest of your body? Are you a thin person that has puffy eyes? Are you overweight and you have puffy eyes? What has your sleeping patterns been like? As well as your brain health. So there's a lot of different things that can go into this component wise that could cause the dark circles and the puffiness. Agape love it. Can't you change the way you eat to shrink fibroid? No, not to shrink them. Like stop eating red meats. Okay, so I'm going to approach that question in a couple of different ways. Okay, can you change the way that you eat to affect your fibroids? Yes. And the way that you will affect them is that you can decrease the activity inside of your fibroids and how much you're growing over time by changing the way that you eat. Now, there's nothing that we've found, seen, tried in our diets that will reduce the size of the fibroid that you already have. So you can influence the future of your fibroids, how many more may grow, how big they grow, but to shrink them, there's nothing that has been found. And I, to myself, deal with fibroids, and there's nothing been shown to actually, through your diet, to be able to shrink them. Now, the reason why eating red meats, and again, we'll talk about diet tomorrow, eating red meats may lead to you having more growth of your fibroids because of the antibiotics and all the growth hormones that the meats that you're eating were given in the growth process. Those chemicals, those hormones, they're still active in the meats that you're eating. And so once you ingest them, guess what? You're now adding to your hormones, your hormonal state. You're adding growth hormones. And what we don't want is to keep growing, right? Because some of that growth means that you're growing and getting fatter. These animals were given a lot of these antibiotics and chemicals and hormones to help them to grow fatter. And so when we're ingesting these, we're doing the same thing. We're giving our bodies growth hormones to gain fat tissue, which is not what we want. But those hormones will also lead. Fibroids is a hormonal state. It's a hormonal dysfunction. It's caused by hormonal dysfunction. And so when you're adding more hormones to your system, you're becoming more dominant in that hormone. And so because of that, you're not feeding into those fibroids. But you don't have to get rid of your red meat. You can literally make sure that you're having lean meats with not a lot of fat tissue, because most of those hormones and antibiotics are living in the fat tissue of these meats. And so if you're eating lean organically, you'll be able to help that tremendously. And so if you remove red meat, you're not shrinking your fibroids. You're just not making them grow much. Okay. Excellent. All right. This is going to be the last one. Okay. Can you show the screen with the suggested probiotics again? Absolutely. And remember that all of our recordings for the week will be available, so you can actually rewatch them and actually go back through. But let's go back so you can see it. There you go. So we're going to leave this up for a few more minutes. And so it's been wonderful. It has been so wonderful. I absolutely love these sessions. I absolutely love teaching and learning with you. But remember, we're in this together. And so this is only day 1 of our challenge. And so we've talked about a lot today. I hope you've learned a lot today. And I hope to see you again tomorrow, where we'll add to this picture and we'll talk more about the things that we can do to make changes to our lives so that we can become more hormonally balanced, but more so to live the life that we want and that we deserve, right? We all deserve to live that beautiful life, whatever that picture is that you see. We deserve that all, and you do. And so Thank you all for being here today. If you have further questions, join us tomorrow, okay? All right, and we'll talk much more. So everyone, have a good night. We definitely went a little bit longer, but in general, our teaching tomorrow will be, our sessions will be an hour long, and then we'll have questions afterwards as we did today, okay? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Jazz, thank you. Everyone, have a really good night. Bye.